good practical advice when you're buying a vehicle. Coming up next, Theo Zografos. He is going to chat about the US election. Apparently there is one coming up, and it's next week. That's next on the Weekend Break. G'day, and thanks to Tyre Power and their holiday getaway sale now on. Buy 3, get 1 free. That's good. At Falcon Wild Peak all-terrain tyres. That's a magnificent offer. Look, there's an election on. It's not ours, it's theirs. But so much fuss over it, so much talk, and you cannot believe Theo Zografos is with me. He has had a finger in many camps politically. Theo, thanks for joining me on the Weekend Break.
Hey, Grub, what a ripper afternoon.
Oh, mate, it's beautiful. It's just magnificent here at the track. I would describe it, Darren James described it earlier as a mischievous zephyr. And, yeah, I would say that. But some of the outfits here today on black and white are just absolutely lovely. Some are unforgivable, of course, but that's just me judging, as I will be doing all day. I'm doing my own judging from the van here, and it's such fun. Theo, we've got an election coming up. Do you reckon there's too much fuss made by Australians over the American election? Do we get too head up about it? I've seen so much stuff and opinions on social media. How's it going to affect us one way or the other, do you think?
Well, it definitely has an impact on Australia. It has an impact on the world, Grub. And in our region, over the next few years, it's going to be quite interesting to see what the new president does in regards to the geopolitical challenges that are facing the region. But what I'm really interested in is the actual contest. Now, we know that it's very, very close, Grub. The polls have it at about 48 apiece if you look at the popular vote. But as you know, this is a contest in every state in the United States, and there's only a few states that are really the swing states where the election will be decided. So if I just show you a few examples here of what we're talking about, if you look at Ohio, Ohio has always been a swing state back for at least 30 years. Trump's in front 7 points there. But if you look at Michigan, Harris is in front by 0.8 and is in front in Wisconsin 0.3. And this is according to the Real Clear Politics rolling average. So it's going to be tight in those states. But I think Trump is just in front. So, of course, that's going to be really interesting 4 years.
Trump gets in. How does that affect us?
Well, I think you'll see a lot of quick decisions from him in the first few months. Of course, the term starts in late January. So the first thing to say here is that we won't know the result on election night, which is Wednesday afternoon, our time here in Australia, because of those postal votes that will be counted in the days afterwards. But if Trump does get in, that's late January. Of course, on a side note, Grubby, the Harris could lose the election but still become president, because we know that Joe Biden, isn't in the best shape. And if something was to happen to him, she still gets up for at least a few weeks anyway. But going back to Trump, he's going to definitely hit the ground running with, I guess, the Ukraine war is going to be front of mind. There's a lot of funding that the United States government has been giving the Ukraine government and their forces. He doesn't have the same view. And obviously when it comes to China, Trump is going to be, I think, a little bit more vocal when it comes to what their position might be if they were to, take a larger military presence in their region as well. So it's going to be really, really interesting. But the first step for Trump is to win the election. He hasn't won it yet, Grub. Harris can still win, by all means, in a very close contest. But for my liking, the way that I'm looking at these numbers, I think Trump will win, probably at about, say, 285 to 253 margin, which is the Electoral College. But it's still very much up for the taking.
Look, it doesn't matter. If Harris wins, Trump will still say he wins. He told me, I spoke to him last week. He said the Swans won the grand final this year. You know how he works. Okay. Kamala Harris gets in.
That's too much of a stretch, I think.
Yeah, all right. Okay, fine. No need to say that. Okay, so Kamala Harris gets in. How does that affect us?
Well, I think you'll see no quick changes because she's still pretty much in the current administration being the vice president. And although she's trying to differentiate herself politically in the next few days, she still will keep, in my view, a lot of the same people that are currently in the White House. Of course, she'll bring her own people as well, but pretty much you won't see wholesale change. So I think definitely her personal view would be different to Trump's when it comes to our region. So Taiwan comes to mind there, and the China geopolitical challenges. I don't think she'll be as hawkish if there was to be an escalation at some point in our lifetime, or certainly in her presidency. But I think she'll take more of a domestic focus. There's some social issues there that she's passionate about. Abortion comes to mind, for example, and they would want to be focused on winning the local domestic contest rather than trying to get a leadership role in the Western world.
Okay, so we've looked at Harris, we've looked at Trump. What if it's a draw?
Well, that's a very, very good question. It is possible because the Electoral College has 538 members, so it could be 269 apiece. And if that happens, it goes to the floor of the Congress, and the Congress will have to vote on the floor between Trump and Harris. That's if it's a draw. It is also very possible that because the Electoral College is made up in each state in a different way, it's possible that one member could switch sides between November and November and December, really. And then they could swing it to, one candidate over the other. So there's a few scenarios here where if it's a draw, we won't know the result for a number of weeks. And a draw is actually very possible, although I think it's not the most likely outcome on the current polling that we're looking at.
Good on you, Theo. Theo Zografos, always a pleasure talking to you on the weekend break on matters political or anything else you want to ring up about, whether it be trains, planes, whatever it is. Theo, good to talk to you.
Thanks, Grub.
Good on you, mate. Good talking. A friend of the show, of course, Theo Zografos. And after the break, if you have a barbecue question,